People saying that, they got what they expected here, but, the question is, how does this community rebuild? Will there be efforts to kind of take down some of these boarded up buildings, or will there be more unrest in this city? Back to you.
Well, let's hope that there will not be more unrest. Logan, thank you very much. We'll check back with you. Well, the jury, just to let you know, just ruled that former police officer Derek Chauvin is guilty on all 3 counts in the killing of George Floyd, guilty of second-degree murder, guilty of third-degree murder, and guilty of second-degree manslaughter. Joining us now for reaction is a Republican congressman from North Carolina, Madison Cawthorn. So, Congressman Cawthorn, thank you very much for joining us. Your take on what has transpired today.
Well, you know what? Our justice system did its work. As Republicans, we believe in the rule of law. The only unfortunate thing is that with President Biden and Maxine Waters, or as I call her, Kerosene Maxine, because she's been pouring gasoline all over this situation, weighing in so heavily, you have to ask yourself, even as the judge pointed out, is this going to overturn the actual ruling of this case in the appeals court? And if that's the case, it'll just be very sad. I think politicians need to, we as politicians need to respect the judicial branch as a co-equal branch of government.
What do you think comes next? Because it sounds like Nancy Pelosi and company want to make this political. They want to introduce, what did she call it?
The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act.
The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Taking this, I guess any crisis is an opportunity. And they're trying to turn this, which to a lot of people was the justice system working, and trying to go beyond that and turn it more political.
Well, you know what? It's very sad. You just saw on MSNBC right before I came on to your show, and also you heard Nancy Pelosi right out over my right shoulder, just saying that they do not believe that this is enough, that this is just the first step in moving forward to whatever their next fight is going to be. And, this George Floyd Justice Act, which has a really great name, unfortunately is something that would really heavily disarm and disadvantage our police officers, who I believe we need to support in every single way. I'm glad that justice was served to what may have been a bad police officer, but I can tell you the overwhelming majority, 99% of all police officers, are the greatest men and women I have ever met. And so I am urging my friends in the Senate to resist the George Floyd Justice Act, because it strips the body armor off of these men and women. And so, what I genuinely believe is that what the Democrats are doing here is continuing to play chaos politics. They believe that if our country is divided, if our country is pointing just hatred at one another, that they can profit off it and gain more power off it. And that's disgusting. That's not the way that I want to be in government. I want to be someone who come into this country as a uniter. That's why I'm here in politics, because our country is just too daggum divided.
Congressman, as word of a verdict came down and we were waiting for it to be read, I believe that Kevin McCarthy at the same time was officially introducing this move to censure Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Do you believe that that should happen? And do you have any additional information on that and where that stands? There was also word that he was going to try to bring it to a full vote on the House.
Oh, I absolutely think that should have happened. Leadership had made a really strong move of waiting to allow Nancy Pelosi to dole out discipline to her own ranks. But as you know, Nancy Pelosi is not here for the American people, so she doesn't care if Maxine Waters incited violence. So I do believe that Maxine Waters should be censured. She should lose her chairmanship, and she shouldn't really be in Congress. If you're going to be going out and trying to incite violence, trying to get Americans to burn our buildings down, to continue to hurt one another, then you shouldn't be here in Congress, because you don't believe in the America that I believe in.
We appreciate you talking with us, Congressman. We were just showing the Attorney General, Keith Ellison of Minnesota. Thank you so much, Congressman. Let's listen in.
Some important historical legacy, if you allow me. In 1968, the Kerner Commission was formed to investigate the causes of uprisings across major American cities. And a man named Dr. Kenneth Clark, a famous African-American psychologist who, along with his equally accomplished psychologist wife, Mamie, contributed to compelling research in the Brown versus Board of Education case. And Dr. Clark testified at the Kerner Commission. And I want to quote you what he said. I read that report, the one in the 1919 riot in Chicago, and it was as if I were reading the report of investigating the committee of the Harlem riot in 1935, the report on investigating the Harlem riot in 1943, and the report of the McCone Commission on the Watts riot. I must say again in candor to you, the members of this commission, it's like a kind of an Alice in Wonderland with the same moving picture reshown over and over again, the same analysis, the same recommendation, and the same inaction. Those are the words of Dr. Clark in 1968. Here we are in 2021. Here we are in 2021, still addressing the same problem. Since Dr. Clark testified, we have seen Rodney King, Abner Louima, Oscar Grant, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, Laquan McDonald, Stephon Clark, Atiana Jefferson, Anton Black, Breonna Taylor, and now Dante Wright and Adam Toledo. This has to end. We need true justice. That's not one case. That is a social transformation that says that nobody's beneath the law and no one is above it. This verdict reminds us that we must make enduring systemic societal change. More than a month ago, months before George Floyd was murdered, the Minnesota Public Safety Commissioner John Harrington and I released the recommendations of our working group on reducing deadly force encounters with law enforcement. What all of us in that working group, including law enforcement, wanted is for everyone to go home safe. Anytime someone doesn't, everyone's lives are changed forever. We need to use this verdict as an inflection point. What if we just prevented the problem instead of having to try these cases? We don't want any more community members dying at the hands of law enforcement and their families' lives ruined. We don't want any more law enforcement members having to face criminal charges and their families' lives ruined. We don't want any more communities torn apart. One way to prevent this is to get into a new relationship where we as a society re-examine the use of force and our old settled assumptions. I'm so proud.
All right, the Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, talking there, making clear, Heather, that they feel like this was a step, but this is a pattern they feel that has not been fixed, and there is more of a fight to come.
Right, and that's been one of the questions from the very beginning when it comes to whether or not Derek Chauvin could, in fact, receive a fair trial there in Minnesota, specifically in Minneapolis, because AG Keith Ellison's own son has been leading the way to defund police there in Minneapolis specifically.
He has quite a background, Keith Ellison does.
Himself, yes.
In Congress, yeah. Let's go to Chris Salcedo. Chris, your thoughts about what you're seeing?
Pretty much as we feared, guys, what it was going to be. This is a political opportunity for the American left. It's not based on facts. It's not based on anything that is unifying. There's an agenda at play here, and you're seeing it from Keith Ellison, and there's also a clear double standard. Mr. Ellison has his own, shall we say, problems in his past that have never been adjudicated. He's never had to face the music. Look, I think we're going to look back on this trial and see how this all plays out in the coming weeks, to see if Maxine Waters' words come back to haunt what many people believe was a just ruling. From all counts, all three counts against Derek Chauvin have been found. He was found guilty. Maximum, I believe I'm quoting this right, 75 years in prison for this former police officer. And anybody who watched the horrific video said that that might be the proper way to go. But again, you're already seeing the political jockeying, the political maneuvering, and it's all one-sided. It's all the very double standard that these people claim that they are trying to stop, they are trying to institute in their political favor. Of course, I'm talking about socialist Democrats, regardless of race, color, or creed. They have a different agenda that seems to trump all of that, and that is left-wing ideology, guys. We'll probably talk more about this when the Chris Salcedo Show returns to this time slot tomorrow.
And we will look forward to that for sure, Chris. I'm sure that you'll have a lot more to say on it. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. As we continue to monitor the crowds, both outside of the courthouse and there at George Floyd Square, where things do look to be calmer than anticipated by many. One of those folks, our very own national correspondent, Logan Ratick. Logan, I did want to ask you, earlier, before the verdict was read, you said that you were concerned about the crowd. You were legitimately concerned for your safety and the safety of your photographer. How do you feel now? Do you sense a change in the mood of the crowd?
There's definitely a change in the mood of the crowd. Obviously, it's different being daytime. Right now, we actually moved a little bit over to our left down the block because that's where this crowd is now gathered here on South 3rd Avenue. They're really lining the street. But in terms of my safety, I'm not really sure because there are some people that say this is a major victory, but there are other people saying that there's a lot of work left to be done. So we don't know how the reaction will be tonight. Obviously, people are excited. There's a lot of angst that has been relieved for some of the people who are George Floyd supporters here. So it remains to be seen how this will all unfold once it becomes nighttime here in Minneapolis. But right now, it's a pretty calm situation. People are chanting and they're happy. But again, there's a long way to go. And obviously, another big case with Dante Wright just about 10 minutes away in Brooklyn Center.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.